Welcome back to Boys and Ghouls Film Review, guys. I'm your host, Sarah Stephenson. This is my co-host, Mike Stephenson.
Good evening, everybody.
And tonight we will be reviewing that mock-up documentary called What We Do in the Shadows that was released in 2014.
It's a New Zealand, like Sarah said, a mockumentary horror comedy.
Yes.
And we think it's really good. And actually, this is one of the few movies that the critics even liked.
And it took, them 9 years to get, film released.
Well, it took a while, yeah.
It took a while.
They wrote the idea and then put it on the shelf, and then they did a short, put it on the shelf, then they made the movie, blah, blah, blah,
It took
blah.
a while for them to start distributing it in theatres.
Yeah, I think they did the short 2005 or something. I can't remember. Yeah. So
So it just took a while.
Early. Anyway, now I'll go through the usual stuff I go through. Now, this is another reason. Excuse me again. I like these sort of movies because a lot of these people do multiple roles. Like, here we go. And I'm apologising in advance for any mispronunciation of this gentleman's name.
Yeah.
Okay. His name's Taika Waititi. He's a New Zealand gentleman. He's a comedian, actor, film director, whatever, writer. And Jemaine Clement. They wrote the story, screenplay, whatever. Now, produced by, I'll just say Taika. Taika and Chelsea Winstanley and Emmanuel Michael. Directed by Taika and Jemaine Clement. And these two guys, they wrote it, they directed it, and they both acted in it, in two of the main roles. Well, actually, one of them's a main role and one's one of the secondary main roles. So, yeah. Excuse me. Now, budget. This is really good. 1.6 mil. Now, I don't know if that's American dollars or New Zealand dollars.
That's a good point.
No, I didn't say it. So irrespective, 1.6 mil, it made 7 million at the box office. However, I believe somewhere after this movie was made and released, there was a torrent downloading site that had it, or on YouTube, or so. I don't know what it was. I think it was a torrent downloading site. People downloaded 270-odd thousand copies of this movie. Now, if that was $20 a head, so that's quite a few $1 million they could have done at the theatre or home media sales. So that's how popular this was. So it's a pat on their back. I mean, it would have been nice if everybody did the right thing and actually bought a copy, but I mean, I do the odd torrent download on a movie I can't get anywhere else. But there's no excuse for people if you got a current movie to go and do a torrent download. Okay. Remember that, folks. Okay, it's against the law too.
All right, who stars in it?
Well, I'm getting there. Wait a minute. Okay, Taika Waititi. He plays Viago. I won't put his full name in it. He's a youngish fellow. He's only 379 years old, and he's the sort of prissy, dandy sort of guy who's trying to be in charge of the household, keeping things together. So he's a very nice guy. The guy you like to take out and meet your parents. Yeah. Now, Jemaine Clement plays Vladislav the Poker. Now, he's a tad older at 862. He's a former tyrant with extreme powers.
Vlad the Impaler, in other words.
Yeah, okay.
Or Vladislav the Poker.
Well, yeah, whatever. But Clement based his performance on Gary Oldman's Dracula.
No kidding.
Actually, Taika based his performance on his mother. Because she's a very pedantic, fussy little lady. He said that's a good role for this vampire to take on for this movie. So and it works quite nicely. Now, I don't know how to pronounce this guy's last name. Jonathan Brugh, Brugh. He plays Deacon Brugh. He's the youngest one. He's 183 years old. He's a young rebel of the group, and he's fond of knitting, erotic dancing, and being cool.
Or he thinks he's being cool.
Yeah. And this guy should be the leader, but maybe he's too old to be the leader.
Or too young.
Ben Francham as Peter.
Oh, yeah, Peter, sorry. for a
You
guy.
forgot Peter, didn't you?
Yeah.
He's only he's 8,000 years old.
Yeah, he would probably look like the Nosferatu
Yeah.
from the movie Nosferatu.
The old silent movie days.
The old silent movies, the pointy ears, the really no features.
Yeah, and maybe Salem's Lot. They had a similar sort of thing in there, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, now Cori Gonzalez-Macuer, whatever. He plays Nick. He's a brand new one. He gets turned in the movie.
Yeah, just a couple of months or
He
so.
was going to be intended victim, but Peter bit him on the neck and turned him into a vampire.
Yeah.
I won't go through too many other people in here, but there's where are we?
There are like a few other people in this that use their real names in this.
Yes, I know.
Too.
Okay. Now, Stu Rutherford is Nick's friend, and he plays a guy called Stu. Gee.
What kind
Nick's best friend who introduces the vampires to modern technology, and he's welcomed into the group with no fear of being invited for lunch. Now, I'll only mention two more. Jackie Van Beek, he plays Jackie. That's Deacon's familiar who does the tidying up around the house and then gets virgins and stuff for them to come there so they can have lunch or dinner, whatever.
Whatever.
Now, one last person. I'll leave all the other people out. Just too many to go through. Reese Darby plays Anton. He's the leader of the local pack of werewolves. Now, when I saw him in this movie, I thought, I know that face. In 2009, he played in one of the roles in The Boat That Rocked. And he's been in several other movies and other things, but I knew him straight away. He's a comedian. He does funny voices and sound effects and whatever. He's a really funny guy. And he plays a really good part in this as a leader of the werewolves. And so this movie, I think, is held together by the vampires and this guy. Yeah, anyway, irrespective. There's a couple of other people I won't worry about going into.
But it's mostly focused on
the vampires.
The three vampires we mentioned at the
beginning. Because Peter, we won't get Peter's not the main one, and Nick's only a
fledgling,
a newbie. But the three main guys are Viago, Vladislav, and Deacon. Yeah. So take it away, Sarah.
Yeah, so we begin with where at the beginning we see some title cards indicating that this film crew wants to film these group of vampires because there's an unholy masquerade that they wish to attend. So they allowed to interview a couple of the roommates of the vampires that live together. And they're provided crosses and stuff to avoid getting bitten by Peter or any of the other vampires. So they're allowed to watch and record and take part as much as they can in the recordings.
Yeah, it's a little bit like other documentaries we've done. We did the rise of Leslie Vernon.
Yeah, we did.
And that was the same sort of thing. It had a crew following the vampire around, the slasher around, showing this is how you do a setup and blah 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 blah.
Yeah, only it just sticks to just ordinary camera footage.
Yeah,
like found footage.
Yeah, that was found footage. Where this one's more like normal filming, but yes, it's really fun, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Anyway, carry on.
So we introduced I'm not Deacon. I mean Diogo. What is his name?
Who?
The head vampire guy who's in charge of this production.
Head vampire is Viago. You got the spelt wrong.
Sorry,
there.
Viago. Sorry.
You got a D instead of a V.
Sorry. Shut up. My bad. Okay.
Notes aren't very good
sometimes.
So
Viago introduces himself and he shows his roommates. They live all together. Peter lives in the basement.
Yeah, Peter's got a little crypt downstairs.
Yeah, in a very big rock type crypt.
Well, it's a bit like a sarcophagus type thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So
he's 8,000 years old. He doesn't change much.
Yeah, and most of the stuff is rather a little bit like what you expect if you were living with a bunch of roommates. Discussions.
Guys. Yeah.
Mostly
slobs,
telling each other to do their chores and stuff like that.
Yeah, actually it starts off with actually beginning
telling
of the movie.
Deacon to wash the dishes, and
You
yes,
haven't washed the dishes in 5 years. So,
it's
yeah.
a little bit,
Just like normal people would.
it's very funny, but I can't. But explaining it to you guys would be a little bit boring and
but
pretty
it's
much
just,
casual.
They're just trying to. They seem like just normal guys who just happen to be old vampires. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So we then go to our title card where they reveal the name of this production, and we then see bits of photos of past
Past lives and stuff.
past
Yeah.
lives they had. Like Deacon was a German Nazi vampire who
In one of his lives.
in one of his lives, where he would assist Hitler in killing innocent people and all that stuff.
Yeah.
You heard of the stories about how Hitler was a bit of a, a crazy person.
We're not going there. It's
Yes.
not about Hitler. It's
And
about
believed
the
in
movie.
the occult and yada yada yada.
Yeah. Anyway, and they talked about vampires being part of the Nazi party and stuff, and and that comes in the movie later on. He's talking to one of the other
Yeah.
guys.
We also find out that Deacon was made by Peter
Yeah.
too, and they become very good close friends ever since.
Well, as one like father and son sort of thing,
Well, as I said, just so you know, Peter doesn't say no words in this production. He doesn't say.
Well,
he
no one
doesn't-
talked to him that much,
He's a
He's a solitary vampire.
type vampire. And Deacon also has a servant who's sort of his familiar, who is named Jackie.
Yep.
And she's does all the odd jobs around the house for
And
them.
cleans up their mess.
And,
A lot of blood.
Yeah, and she gets them their daily meals, or not daily meals, just
The regular meal. They need a couple of virgins brought in occasionally. Virgins taste better, I understand. I have never tasted one.
yeah.
I don't drink blood normally, but I've been told
Yeah, they keep going on about how they drink virgin blood.
it tastes better. Oh, yeah.
It's something about it, but I don't even know if they notice if it's if the guy's
I'll drink
virgin
anything,
or not.
but they prefer virgin blood.
Yes. They then go on about how they hunt for prey in their own ways.
Yeah,
like
they go on the bus at night in the city.
yeah, they go to a club that's been,
It's so cute.
yeah. They try to get invited into clubs,
yeah.
nightclubs, but you have to be invited in.
They've got to say the word, "Will you come in, please?" or something or other.
Because it would
You
be.
just can't walk up the door and just walk in.
Yeah, see, most of the times when they try to ask the guy at the door, guy in charge,
this bouncer,
to
whatever,
the
yeah.
bouncer to invite them in, but he keeps saying go right in, but that's not the same thing, is it?
Yeah, you have to be invited in.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so it makes
They
it
end
very
up
hard.
they end up going to a not so busy bar that's for vampires.
And there's hardly anybody there. Because,
It's quite boring. There's no one
Yeah.
there. Just think of it as your local bar that doesn't get very much action.
okay, it's been condemned by the health
Health
health department and stuff, and you can't come here. You'll get sick.
Yeah.
It had a bar staff in there and about one patron. That's it.
Yes, moving on. So they then, Jackie eventually invites, say, an old boyfriend and an old friend.
A girl from school who got used to tease her.
Yeah, they're invited to the young vampire's
Because
crypt.
she thought they were both virgins.
Yeah, and their house is very casual liking house. It's actually
Casual?
Yeah, it's pretty. The house originally was Peter Jackson's old office, the outside part,
Oh, okay.
not the inside
Peter
part.
Jackson, the film director. Oh, the Lord of the Rings guy. Okay.
So it's his place.
Okay. Didn't know that.
Well, now you know. So anyway, moving on. So they then invite them in for dinner, and they do sort of a
Mind games on
a
them.
mind games thing with the spaghetti.
They put spaghetti in places. Look, you're eating worms.
Yeah.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, it's Friday Nick, and
It's funny.
And they-
you have to be seeing the movie.
you have to see it, and you don't. The cameraman doesn't see it, but the victim does see it. It's kind of funny, and I think it's really great.
It must be hypnosis. It's not real. It's not magic.
Yes, and Nick freaks out, and tries to leave, but then but then he notices that right away that his the owners are actual vampires,
So he
and
starts
he
trying to
starts
run
running
away,
around
yeah.
the house. They do some interesting bits where
Don't tell them too much.
that won't tell you too
They're
much.
fun bits.
They're really funny, and of course, Viago's really bad at drinking vampire blood because he keeps on ending up hitting the main artery
Yeah,
vein.
and it starts spurting out all over the place,
Yes,
which is, he
but
makes a mess.
It's
He's not very good.
it's disgusting, but it's funny.
It is funny. Yes.
And he does this chasing around type
Yeah,
of attitude.
it's cool.
It's not scary or anything. It's just funny.
It is funny. It's just really good. It's a very tongue-in-cheek, this one.
Yeah. Anyway, eventually Peter tackles Nick to the ground, and you guess the rest.
He gets bitten. Gee.
Yeah, and then
No, he doesn't. No, Nick doesn't. Oh, Peter, yeah, when he gets outside. Yeah, he
Peter
gets outside.
tackles him to the ground.
When he
and
gets
drinks
outside the
blood.
house. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know how many days go by, but
Well, I think it's a couple of months later. Yeah.
eventually Nick has finally recovered from the bite and is developing all these vampire symptoms, and eventually he is shown the ropes by our three vampires.
Yeah, he's joining the little group,
Yeah,
sort of.
And his friend Stu comes along for the ride unknowingly about the fact they're vampires, just thinking that they're just part of a weird clique.
Yeah, and Nick keeps telling everybody, "Oh, I'm a vampire. Twilight, blah blah." All
Yeah,
sorts
but that
of
was
stuff,
until later. He eventually gets them into nightclubs and places with a big selection of people to nibble on. Well, not
So
seriously
Yeah,
nibbling.
he knows the people on the door, so he can.
Yeah,
"Oh,
he
come
knows.
in,
He knows the bouncer, and they finally were allowed to go into the
and
busy
dance with
nightclubs.
girls and stuff, and
Yeah.
and suss out the menu.
Yes. Yeah. Eventually, we do meet the werewolves. They were walking along, and they meet the werewolves, and they start taunting each other by saying nasty things about them. They say nasty things about them, about the vampires, and they even and even Deacon tries to throw a pretend stick, and one of them tries to run and catches it.
And the leader says, don't do that. Or something,
Yeah,
whatever.
see, they kind of act like dogs.
Real dogs, yeah.
Like, if you throw a stick, they'll probably chase after it.
Walkies!
Or something.
Yeah. But anyway,
So eventually...
They taunt each other, and then they go on their merry way.
And Student sees this, and Nick is worried that how is his friend going to react to this? React to the fact that these guys are real vampires. Nick is now a vampire. How will he respond? Eventually, Nick seems to take it rather well. He doesn't seem to be scared or life-threatened. And the other vampires, roommates, they kind of accepted dear old Stu with great insult. He shows them technologies.
He brought computers in and stuff, and he got a new TV which actually worked.
And he shows Viago how to do karate moves, stuff like that, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And
a bit of Facebook and stuff.
yeah,
and
showed them how to try to find victims online.
And friends.
Yeah.
He finds his old girlfriend, a bit of her history, and his old servant and stuff.
Yeah, there was this interesting scene with Viago where he's contacting his servant, and his servant is like saying, "I'm 90 years old. You haven't promised me you will give me eternal life. Oh,
He's been waiting. I've wasted my life.
I've wasted my life. I have nothing."
Then he disconnects on him.
And he just turned it off.
Does that mean he's unfriended him?
I don't know about that, but I think he just video chat with him. I don't know. I don't know much about the
It's a bit like
technology.
Duo or something rather. Yeah.
I don't know much about the technology.
No,
myself.
Duo probably,
Yeah.
or something similar.
Yeah. So later on, eventually Nick starts going around telling people he's a vampire to every person on the street.
Yeah, storekeepers, girls, guys, whatever.
Yeah,
Anyway.
he even made a vampire face at a storekeeper while buying purchases.
Yeah.
He makes a face, and that would have really creeped someone out.
And he's walking down the street. He tells some guy, "Oh, I'm a vampire." And the guy says, "I'm a vampire hunter." Yeah, bull.
Yeah.
Right.
Eventually, Deacon and Nick get into a bat fight.
Yeah, bat fight.
Yeah, they transform into bats and start tackling each other, hitting.
Yeah, actually, the morphing wasn't too bad. Whoever did the editing there for that using After Effects or what they use, it worked really good, hey?
Yeah, eventually,
They weren't rubber ones.
yeah. Anyway, eventually, Deacon heads off and tells Jackie the bad news that he cannot transform her into a vampire just yet because Nick has jumped into her place, and he may have to wait, say, 15 or 10 years before he could never do it for Jackie.
Yeah.
And Jackie is not taking this really well because she thinks it's all a male thing.
Yeah, if I had a, did she say if I had a dick or something? Right?
Yeah.
It's just rude. I said if I had a dick, I would have been turned already. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's a sex thing, really, to be
No,
honest.
she just said that in the movie. So
Anyway, it's not like that. Anyway, even that very night, Nick is eating some chips, and then he
tries to eat. He has
he
one or two.
throws up blood in the scene,
Does he ever?
and it looks so hilarious. Like
It's like a fire hose coming out of his mouth almost.
and he's a little pissed. Finally, I think he's realizing that he's now resenting being a vampire because he can't eat his favorite food.
Chips.
Chips.
New Zealanders talk funny.
Hey, don't be rude.
They do. No, they don't say chips. They say chops. They say chips.
Yes.
French fries to the Americans.
Or whatever. So anyway, he's annoyed now. He's starting to realize that he's starting to resent being a vampire because he can't go out in the sunlight. He cannot do all the things he used to do.
Can't eat chips.
His favorite food, all that stuff. Anyway, moving.
Can't drink alcohol.
So later,
unless it's in somebody's blood.
yeah. So later that night, later on, while they were all asleep in their crypts and whatever, we then we hear that Peter gets caught in the sunlight and he dies in the direct sunlight.
Yeah, he got burned up by the sun because the vampire hunter guy came in there,
Yeah.
opened the window in the basement to get in, and then the vampire hunter, I think, had an accident and something fell on him, but the window blind was open, so when Peter came out, Peter got incinerated.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and of
Poor
course,
Peter, he's a lovely guy.
and when Nick finds out about this, he's there with them, and he then realizes the vampire hunter is the very guy he was telling he was a vampire too.
Yep.
And
Bugger.
Dakin is not taking this really well. He then chases him, and they start clawing at each other, climbing on top of the ceiling and walls and stuff like that. And eventually, they get a knock at the door, and it's two police people.
Yeah, just doing a noise inquiry. Yeah,
Of course.
Someone reported a lot of noise and screaming came from
Viago was able to make them not see anything out of the ordinary. Try to make it look like trying to hypnotize them, even though he says in an interview that he's not a really good hypnotizer and he's worried that it'll wear off any second. Unfortunately, for them, it kind of stays on for a bit. So he was able to get them fooled, believing that they were having just a barbecue in the basement, and the only things that was remotely bad was
they didn't have any fire alarms.
Yeah. So they.
Yeah, really weird.
The policemen back upstairs, and Deacon suggests, let's kill them. And of course, Viago, not Viago, Vlad says, let's wait until another few more tips they give us, and then we'll think of killing them. But don't worry, they didn't kill them, obviously.
I think Viago said, if we get kill them, we might send some more police around.
Yeah, well, actually, Viago did say that. He says that if they did notice something out of the ordinary, then they might start killing them, and then more policemen, even Christian policemen, might be there, and that's the last thing they want in that house.
Yes.
Eventually, later on, they then do a court scene where they tell Nick that
because the walk of shame.
Yeah, they tell him that you're being banished for doing all this stuff.
Yeah, betraying us and stuff, and causing Peter's death. Yeah.
Yeah, and then later on, we find out about the unholy masquerade, which was probably one of the reasons why these reporters, these cameramen were hovering.
Well, we don't know. You're just surmising.
Well, it was mentioned at the beginning, where these these cameramen were wanting to record this unholy
okay.
masquerade, and they decided to interview some of the
Couple of people.
members.
Oh, okay, right. Sorry,
So
my mistake.
yeah, and Vladislav thinks that he's gonna be the host of the event, but unfortunately, it's not. It turns out to be the Beast being the host. I won't mention who
Yeah, it
yet.
sounds like some
See,
horrible
this
creature.
Beast
and
is sort of a sworn enemy to Vlad.
the beast.
Yes, and of course, this masquerade is one of the.
Well, it's a joint masquerade. It's got vampires, zombies, and witches, isn't it?
Yeah,
There's no werewolves.
Actually, there might be a few
No,
werewolves.
they weren't. I don't think the werewolves were invited.
I don't know.
I don't think they were. But I think it was the three clubs: the vampires, the witches, and the zombies.
And a few banshees and other
And
creatures.
yeah,
and
well,
some
the banshees are
supernatural
sort of ring-ins.
creatures.
Yeah. But
And probably demons, I think.
a few demons are in there. Yeah. They're allowed.
Yeah.
Bring
So
a
they
friend,
end up getting dressed up, and Vlad is the only one who doesn't want to bother coming.
because the beast is going to be there as master of ceremonies.
Yes.
Or monster of ceremonies in this case.
Yeah. So they eventually go, and it takes place in a bowling club.
Yeah, bowling club.
Sort of like if it looks just like the clubs you probably go to if you were.
Yeah, like a bowling
your-
club or a croquet club.
Bear
or
in mind,
just
this is
an old building.
this is in New Zealand, and if you guys went to Australia and New Zealand, you would
but
see how the clubs are not as fancy.
They don't have it in just old suburban little bowling clubs or croquet clubs or
Yeah.
lacrosse clubs. It's just an ordinary old building.
Not
They
a-
have a bar and a
yeah,
dance
not a
floor.
castle, not a.
It's just so down key it was.
Yeah.
As one would expect. Yeah.
And of
These
course,
weren't rich vampires and witches.
true.
No,
But it would have been
yeah.
cool if it was an actual palace or
It would
something
have been very nice,
cool
but no.
like that. Anyway, it's you get to see all kinds of creatures there, even some zombies.
Yeah,
that
and
were
the zombies, it's really funny.
They speak
saw
like-
the guy, he said, "Oh, hell no!" He's just talking like normals, and they get tired of walking around like, he just
Yeah.
don't do it. Just too much, and he's just talking like an ordinary guy.
Yeah, like he doesn't like being considered a zombie as
You have just arms stuck out and just start walking around stiff-legged, and
yeah, exactly.
He's a
So
very nice guy too.
yeah, we then eventually see the Beast, and she's
a rather attractive
a
lady.
rather attractive lady. As it turns out, her name is Paula.
Paula or something. Yeah.
And she's Vlad's ex-girlfriend.
Yeah, and they had some wild times together.
They had wild stuff, and she calls him asshole and stuff like that.
That's allowed.
and-
It's in the movie.
and
It's in the movie.
She practically doesn't like him very much, and she's already dating someone else who has a very big skin condition.
Oh, yeah, he's bad.
I don't know if he's a vampire
Or
or
a
a
leper.
demon
I don't know
or
what
even
he is.
or even either a zombie vampire.
I think he's a vampire, but he's got a bad skin condition.
Ah.
I think.
Maybe, or maybe he's years older than.
Well,
Vlad.
I don't know.
I don't know.
His skin's terrible. I mean, makes me look really good. Yeah.
Yeah. Eventually, Nick and Stu at this vampire masquerade, and as it turns out, the other creatures find out Stu is not. Is human.
And they asked him a couple of questions. Oh, I'm an IT person, yada yada. And they yelled out, "He's a virgin!"
Yeah.
I love that. It's so cute.
Eventually, Vlad appears and he makes his presence known, and Paula is not too thrilled to see him, obviously.
No.
And they get into this
He says,
sort of,
"Hello, beast."
and she calls him a
Hello,
an
asshole.
asshole. And they get into this sort of
A verbal.
verbal.
And then her boyfriend, this other vampire guy, has a fight with Vlad.
Yeah, and at first, Vlad is being sort of fought,
Yeah.
but eventually Stu steps in and stabs him
Yeah, I
in a
don't
funny
know.
way.
Yeah, he impales him on this flagpole. And that wasn't a very good thing when you got lots of other vampires and other creepy crawly type people hanging around there.
Yeah.
If you ain't one of them.
Yeah, eventually he ends up falling to the bad vampire falls to the ground, and they all all four vampires escape Paula and the masquerade,
Yeah.
and they cheer for Stu for his achievement.
You're killing this other naughty vampire. However, their joy
Is
was short-lived.
Yeah.
Because they meet the werewolves again.
Yeah, this time they're chaining themselves to trees.
Yes, they're getting ready to change. It's the full moon.
Yeah, and of course the head
Vampire.
werewolf.
Werewolf guy, yeah.
He's a little annoyed that some of them have bought jeans along instead of
It's-
track pants.
Yeah, track pants, stretch. And
Yeah.
said, well, last time you wore your jeans here, you ripped them. You couldn't wear them home, you know. It's really funny, like a mother hen telling the kids how to behave and do that.
Yeah.
Tie us up. That tree's too small. You know how big you get. Move over the other tree, you know. And then you should have wore your tracky dacks and this, that, and the other. And you know what? Take your jacket off. You rip your jacket, you know, and all that sort of stuff. You know,
Yeah.
it's so funny.
Yeah, it is funny. Eventually, they start. The moon starts rising, and then they start changing, and it becomes. This is where it gets a little scary and stuff.
It's a little bit scary in the nicest possible way, though.
Yeah, the vampires start trying to scatter and get away. And Stu is the only one who gets tackled by these.
Oh, wait a minute! And one of the film crew.
Yeah, one of the film crew gets dragged away and probably gobbled up.
Yeah, the film crew guy, camera A or camera B, gets attacked. I don't think he turns into a wheel. He just ripped up in little pieces.
Yeah.
However,
eventually,
take it away.
So Stu is very badly and considered dead in this scene.
However,
and all the other vampires mourn for his death.
They think he's gone.
And they all went their separate. Well, not all. Went home, and Nick is still grieving, and I don't know. The next couple of days, they get a call from Nick.
Doesn't Deacon try to console him a bit?
Yeah, he tries, but it's not as very nice.
I mean, he's not very good. He's a vampire trying to talk nice things. But it's just it's funny.
Yeah, and eventually, he throws away in the lake a scarf that he was making for Stu.
Yeah.
And then they all went home the next, I don't know when, but the next day or so, they get a call from Nick saying that he has a big surprise for them. So Deacon answers the door and sees Nick and Stu there. And Stu has all these scars on his face, but he's alive, which is good.
He turned.
Yeah, as it turned out. And he smells
doggy.
Doggy. And
that's how they kept reminding.
And this is where Stu talks about does a brief interview telling the camera guys how he blacked out and then somehow he transformed when he was being taken by the ambulance.
And then he ran away, and then the werewolf guys found him, and the leader guy and his friends looked after him.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and they eventually befriend the werewolves. They finally made peace between each other, and
Nick and Stu invited them back to the vampire's place for a get together.
Yeah, and this is where I should mention. I didn't mention this part yet, but there's a Viago also has a secret love interest that's why he came to New Zealand, and after his servant tried to send him on the wrong boat and ending up traveling there for probably 8 or 9 months.
Well, 18 months until he gets there.
On the boat until he gets there. And then his love interest gets married to someone else.
In between times she got there, she met somebody else who got married by the team. Viaga got there, she's already married and happy, and he could have said, I could have killed the guy, but she's so happy, I thought, well, I'll leave her to be happy, and I'll get her later on, maybe,
Yeah, and so when she's now a widow and probably living in a retirement home, so he then visits her, and he finally ups up the courage to turn her. And she's like, say, in her 80s or 90s.
Yeah. I've got to think about this. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Go on.
Somewhere in the notes here I found, they said she's supposed to have left wherever she was, England or Europe, wherever, in about 1910. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not quite sure what year this is supposed to be, but the movie's made in 2014. She was supposed to be probably about 20-ish, early 20s maybe.
Right.
So that would also make, by that this time here, this would make it something that's like 120, 130 years old. And
Yes.
they got the years mixed up a little bit somewhere in the script. And
So
all that.
anyway, as we're saying, so he upped up the courage and bit her and made her a vampire, and now they're together.
And they said, and people said, "Oh, what about the age difference?" And he says, "Well, she doesn't mind that I'm a couple of hundred years old, and
Yeah,
and she's only 90 or something." Yeah,
Yeah, so that's where it ends. Where I
Sort of.
should have tell you guys this at the beginning, but the story does go on a bit, and there's a bit of stuff that's really boring that I don't want to bring up.
No.
Well, not boring stuff, boring.
No,
I just
that's
mean
not
like
boring, but
it's not fun to explain.
It's hard to put it all together, but there are some quite a bits in the movie, but it works.
Yeah, because there's some really ordinary stuff that doesn't seem ordinary when you watch it.
It all comes together.
But when you see it for yourself, it seems funny. But when you explain it,
It doesn't sound funny.
It doesn't sound funny.
Yeah, it's not like if someone's going to the toilet, you wouldn't actually say, "Hey, he's going to the toilet." But if everything comes together, there's a good continuity of everything going on in this movie.
Yeah, so
everything fits.
Yeah, so by the credits start rolling, Vlad says in a bit of a post-credit scene where he talks about how he and Paula try to get back together, but it soon becomes clear that
they're fighting again.
It's fighting again, and there's reasons why they broke up in the first place.
They're incompatible.
And we then find out Jackie is turned to a vampire by Nick, and she's now has her husband as her familiar.
And then she's giving him all the rules. You have to do this and do that and do that and whatever. And then Deacon comes on the screen a few moments later at the end of the credits.
Yeah, he says, "You will not remember
this movie."
And it ends.
And it's quite humorous the way they did that.
Yeah, and that's the end of the movie. I really enjoyed it. I mean, I would have explained to you guys more of the scenes, but some of the stuff is very ordinary.
Yeah, but the point is, it's not an action movie. It's not an adventure. It's a comedy, and the comedy's worked. Some of it's subtle, and some of it's really funny. It's a mixture, but like I said, the continuity works. So the quiet bits are in there to make the other bits come together. They join it together.
And I always said ordinary, but I didn't mean it that way. I mean, explaining it to you guys would be ordinary.
Would lose something. Yeah.
If I explain it to you guys, it will lose its magic.
Now, having said that, now production stuff. Now, this film, done in, 2014? 2014, was actually based on a short film that they made that Taika Waititi did with, I think, Clement in 2005. It went for about 28 minutes. And it was called What We Do in the Shadows, Interviews with Some Vampires. That was the full title of it. Written and directed by Tucker and Clement. And starring Johnny Berg, which is the other guy, a few people. Now, the funny part is, the film was shot in New Zealand, as we said, in September in 2012. So it was released about a year or two later. And there's the first feature film since Tucker did a movie called Boy, a couple of years earlier. Now, Stu Rutherford, who played Stu, is an IT technician who played an IT technician. Wow. That stretches the imagination, isn't it?
Bear in mind, Mike, he did act like very ordinary, which is the whole point in this production.
There's something to that, because he said, "Look, I want you to do a bit part in the movie, so just act natural like an ordinary self."
Yeah. Meaning, he just acted like typical.
But he didn't realise how important his role was to the whole movie.
Yeah.
So I'm just going there, walk around, say, "Oh, I'm Stu," blah blah. Yeah, but he didn't know how important it was. He just come in here, you're just nothing, just patted it out, but it wasn't. He wasn't an actor. He just dragged him in there because he'd suited the idea that Tucker had in his mind.
Yeah, anyway, just so you guys know, in 2019 they made a TV of this very same TV show based off this
that was done in America and
this movie.
Huh?
based off this movie.
Yeah.
And
What year?
which is,
What year was it?
I said 2019.
Yeah, 2019. That's right. Yeah, 2019. Yeah, and it was done. I don't know what city in America, but
It's a sort of a
Staten Island.
yeah. So that it was there in that.
Well, that's what I said it was anyway in the movie.
Yeah.
The show.
And
Yeah.
it was like the same thing, cameramen following a group of vampires
Yeah.
around.
A different group, obviously, but similar.
Yeah.
They had a prissy guy who was supposed to be really tough, but he was in charge. But he's a bit of a softie, and had an
Yeah.
aggro guy who wasn't quite as aggro as lad, and had a female one in there instead of another guy. So it worked well.
Yeah,
I think.
because as it turned out, both two of the vampires were a couple. She was with with a bit of a on and off again relationship with one of the vampires, wasn't she?
Yeah, something like yeah.
Yes, and we get a cameo appearance of the three other vampires in this movie.
The three
in
guys
that TV
in this
show.
movie, they do a cameo when the vampires in the TV show get into trouble and do something and accidentally kill another vampire. Accidentally, they didn't do it really, but they're called to attend a council meeting, and these three guys were part of the council meeting guys. It was quite interesting.
It was clever, especially
Really
Wesley Snipes.
He did
He
a
makes a
cameo.
cameo in this
On-
too.
They did it on a TV monitor because he couldn't make it there. And it's just like a really good meaning like how we do. Instead of everyone shouting, oh, so-and-so couldn't make it because they're doing something else and somebody didn't want to come. And again, just like real human beings, hey? Yeah.
I certainly like the fact that one, again, is very a mixture of ordinary filming and stuff,
Yeah.
and most of the stuff they get up to is, well, it's not as exciting or as well. The part where that really is interesting is when they try to take over the Staten Island.
Yeah, whatever.
And
we're not reviewing the TV show.
I know, but I'm touching onto it like I always do. Where they try to take over it, but it doesn't work so
These
well.
three people are they're so dysfunctional they'd almost be a version of The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they couldn't take over the house next door, let alone the island.
True.
Anyway,
Yes. Anyway, so that's pretty. So
well, I can go into other stuff now. I've got to talk, not just you.
yeah. So what do you got? What are your thoughts about
I've
the
got some
movie?
things I want to talk about. Initially, this had a limited release in New York and Los Angeles, and followed by a screening in San Francisco and some other places. The film received regional release about a month or two later, and it went. I wouldn't say it went ballistic, but it was heavily praised. Everybody who saw it liked it. Now here's a bit about the piracy bit. It says after the shutting down of a piracy website based in Mount Wellington, Auckland, the website revealed that at 277,000 downloads, that was one of the most heavily pirated films. So, I mean, I know it was pirate, and I don't like pirating, don't get me wrong, but if you equate that to ticket sales and put, say, $20 a head or something or other, that's going to be something like, put a zero under it, that's about $2 million, almost $3 million bucks. So another $4 million maybe at the theatre or home media sales. So they did pretty good.
Yeah, and another thing about this movie is that the bars and the nightclubs the vampires visit are actual bars in Wellington, in New Zealand.
Yeah. They did a lot of location shoots. Make it. I mean, it's cheaper than actually building sets.
Yeah, except for the set inside the vampire's house.
Yeah, they had a couple of rooms made up.
Yeah, that's pretty much all set design.
Yeah, but actually it looked like a real grotty old house. I mean, it was a period house, probably 100 years old, a bit more. And it looked the part, it looked daggy inside, like the wallpaper was hanging off the wall. But whoever did the set design was pretty good. It looked really convincing. And when I thought, oh, well, that's a real house, an old derelict house they're using. But no, it was actually a set, I believe. So, yeah. Now, getting back my favourite bit, critics. And when I looked up the stuff on here, I was totally surprised.
Right.
Here we go. Rotten Tomatoes. The film holds an approval rating of 96%, based on 187 reviews. Not 5 reviews or 10 reviews, 187.
Great.
Average rating, it says 7.8 out of 10. Okay. The site's critical consensus reads, smarter, fresher, and funnier than a modern vampire movie has any right to be.
Sweet.
It's bloody good fun. Yeah, bloody good fun like blood.
I get
it. Now, on Metacritic, 76 out of 100, generally favourable reviews. FearNet, I don't know FearNet, they said a great vampire comedy. Film School Rejects, I haven't heard of them, wrote a predominantly positive review, commenting that some of the film's broader moments fell flat. That's the quite a bit that Sarah was talking about before,
Yeah.
but compared it favourably to similar mockumentaries such as Best in Show. I don't know Best in Show. I can't comment on that.
Say either.
Now, wait a minute. Here we go. We're getting near the end of these. The film was warmly received in UK newspapers, with The Guardian's film critic Peter Bradshaw describing it as the best comedy of the year.
Sweet.
While The Telegraph's Tin Robbie found it desperately funny. So this, I mean, you don't get this normally.
Yeah, this seems to be the recent movie we've got with favourable reviews.
Critics used to say, "Oh, I don't like this movie." No, this is good. Wait a minute. Film International, in a positive review, commended the film for noting with a double of Count Orlok, the guy in Nosferatu, looked in the vampires, locked in the vampire's basement. He wasn't locked in the basement. He lived there. That the true vampire film tradition is repressed by the current craze. I don't
get that.
I don't know.
I don't understand that one.
Yeah, that the true vampire film is repressed.
He wasn't locked down there. He lived there.
That's where his crypt was. I mean,
it's like Deacon living in a closet.
Yeah, he liked to hang upside down. Now here's something. Variety was more critical. Now.
Yeah.
Here we go. Saying, they wrote, some genre fans who prefer the silly to the satiric may bite, but this anemic pick isn't remotely weird or witty enough for cult immortality. But here's the last one I like, and this proves they don't know what they're talking about. However, Mark Kermode gave the film a negative review until a couple of years later, when on a BFI player, Kermode chose this film on his BFI player choices film and gave it a positive review.
Change of heart.
He gave a negative review and a positive review. Make up your mind, you dickhead. I'm sorry.
I don't get this.
See, that's why I hate critics. They're idiots. Most of them.
I don't get it. I mean, they criticize one scene, like with Vampire Peter being in the basement.
Well, that guy made a mistake. He wasn't locked. He lived there.
Yeah, he comes out when he wants to, not when others choose.
He chose his own time, his own company. Anyway, he came in occasionally, but they
he
brought food down to him.
Yeah, there were a few scenes where you see him hovering in a chair or in the lounge room watching television, or when he's just strolling by a window
or floating past the window
in a creepy fashion.
Now,
other than that, that he wasn't confined.
Now,
I mean, he probably didn't like hanging out with other company.
Well, he couldn't. He didn't want to go clubbing and stuff, did he? But he's too old. He's 8,000 years old.
He has his own way of fun if he has.
Yeah. Anyway, here's now sequel. They've been talking about a sequel, and talking about a sequel, and they've been talking about a sequel, but Taika has said that it may come, but we're too busy to work on it at the moment. They may have some bones of an idea together, but they haven't.
There was even talk about a movie titled "Where Werewolves" currently developed in development. Also, a mockumentary of this film follows as a group of werewolves living in modern day Wellington.
That was the sequel.
Yeah, and I don't know if
Yeah.
that's still in the works or
No, he
still
said it's like,
lost.
yeah, it's like it may come, but not just at the moment.
Yeah, now that they're working on a TV series.
Well, no, it's irrespective of that. I said, but it may come one day. Yeah, it might happen after the
Yeah.
TV
The
series
guy
is
who
done or
plays
something.
Vlad's, what's his name?
Jemaine,
Yeah.
Jemaine.
Yeah, he's the creator of the TV series.
I think they both are executive producers, aren't they?
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just going to have a look at my notes here.
Yeah.
No, I think I haven't got it there.
Yeah, so he's the creator, and they probably assigned number of directors to
Oh,
work
yeah.
on the scripts.
Executive producers of the show include Clement and Waititi. Waititi. And so, yeah, they've actually, those two guys who wrote the original movie are exec producers. I don't know if they're actually writing it, but they're actually exec producers, so
Yeah.
they might be helping out writing. I couldn't be sure.
Yeah, well, it's always good to have a supervisor, at least to keep it.
Well, they're looking over the shoulder and probably can advise him a bit and stuff, and maybe find a bit of money towards
and remember,
it.
and telling the screenwriters to keep it like.
Yeah. So this guy Taika,
scene together.
I hate his name. It's too hard for me to say. Taika. I'll say Taika. Taika.
Yeah.
Whatever. He's made a lot of movies.
Yeah, he's also
And
made
Jojo Rabbit.
Rabbit.
Some other movies he's been. But if you go online, have a look on places like Wikipedia or different places, he's written, produced, directed, he's acted in a lot of the movies. He's a very talented man. And whether you like his movies or not is irrelevant. He's a very talented man. Taika Waititi is probably, to me, one of the kings of independence because he's done it all. And it's from writing, producing, directing, and something even acting in it. What more do you want? He makes tea and coffee as well. Whatever.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I know. I'm really those sort of guys impress me.
He also can speak German. In this movie, it made a bit of a kind of.
Well, he put an accent on it, a European accent when he did the.
So he actually was. Let me see. I think he briefly lived in that country, so was able to incorporate some of the phrases. Phrases. He remembers in the script.
And the way of talking, the European talking like that. A European talking in English, especially if it's they're not totally comfortable with it, would have a heavy accent, and he put the heavy accent on quite nicely. Yeah, considering it's New Zealand.
Yeah, I certainly like the special effects. Some of it, I like the ones that could be very simple to replica, like using dry ice when he was burning or something.
Yeah, he might have some dry ice or something, or a little tube, and he's up his shirt there.
See, when there was a scene where he had a locket that was given to him when he gave it to him by his old love interest.
And he put it on and said, "I can only wear it for a couple of seconds. Oh, it's starting to burn. Oh, yeah."
Yeah.
So he has to take it off again. It's quite funny. It's really well done. It's not an action movie. It's not a horror. It's a subtle comedy horror. It's friendly. It's good. It's good fun. I enjoy watching it because there's little bits you miss in some of the dialogue sometimes.
Remember the bit where he takes the photo out of the locket, scans it into the computer, sizes it up, and then he puts it in his coffin, and then he starts jerking you off.
No, stop it. Yeah, well, you've done it now, haven't you? I was going to leave that as now there's a bit of a spoiler now. That was a funny bit, But he did. He gave himself a hand job in his coffin while looking at the picture of his ex-girlfriend, his old girlfriend. He hear thump, on the coffin lid. Yeah, that's okay. Fine. You let the cat out of the bag now, haven't you? That was the saver for the people. That was funny, but now you told them one of the funny.
But there's some other funny bits, like
I know that
they're floating in midair and stuff like
that. Doing the cleaning, yes, I know. But this
some other stuff.
If you tell them all the funny bits, they won't.
And not to mention the TV show has a lot of funny bits.
There's some actually. I must admit. I've seen all the episodes for the TV, or at least season one. It wasn't bad. Each episode sort of let on, they're independent stories, but they sort of let on. There was a bit of a continuity going through it, and it did work. I still like the movie better, and I'm not knocking the actors or anybody else or the script writers, or I just like the movie version better. But the TV show, it's quite good.
Yeah,
A TV
I
series,
love
yeah.
in that the TV show that one of the vampires has a servant and a familiar, so you know.
Dilemma or something,
Yeah,
isn't it?
Gizmo.
Well, someone called it, they call him, one of the guys called him Gizmo.
Yeah.
It's Guillermo or something. Yeah.
Yeah, we do explore a little bit of the familiar territory as well as the vampire stuff.
Yeah, there's quite a few familiar show up in this. Yeah,
Yeah.
when they have meetings and stuff.
Yeah, one of them is actually a cat.
Yeah, and actually one's really good. There's an adult familiar there, and it's got two little kids.
Yeah.
He said, "Well, yeah, they can't go out and mingle there. It looks weird. So when we go out somewhere, I've got to pretend to be the dad."
That's kind of cute.
That's really weird. It's funny.
It's funny. It's really hilarious.
I mean, but it's good subtle humour, and I do like subtle humour. Because he said, oh yeah, it was funny. Yeah, right, I like that. It's good. I can see it. Yeah, and instead of going, big belly laugh all the time, no, I don't like belly laughs all the time because some of that's fabricated. Here's another joke, and there's another one, and here's another funny bit. Yeah, you ha 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 ha. That's something else. Somebody fell over. Ha ha. Ha. Yeah, no. But when you got a nice subtle dialogue and there's humour in it, sometimes it's funnier. Yeah. It sort of sneaks up on you. Oh, tap you on the shoulder, say, "You weren't paying attention, were you?" And the second time you watch the movie or whatever, or the show, you pick up on the bits you didn't see or hear before. Yeah, it was great, yeah.
Yeah, really great.
Yeah, it's funny bits. Yeah. But anyway, irrespective, I think we've dragged on it a little bit.
Yes.
It's almost an hour's worth at the moment.
Yeah, so do you want to rate this now?
Oh, yeah, I'm going to give this a bit. Honestly, I can't fault this movie.
Me neither.
I mean, I think Tucker and the other guy, Jemaine, who wrote it and produced it and directed it and everything else. I mean, crikey. Directed it and acted in it. They did a really good job. So I'm going to have to give them, I don't often give a 10, but I'm going to give this one a 10.
I'm going to give this one a 10.5.
We don't go to 10.5. However, in this case, you can do a 10.5.
Okay, thank you.
No, it's really good. I mean, if you like good, subtle humour, this is a really good watch. It's good, it's fun, and wait a minute, drum roll. It's available on Amazon as a rental or a buy.
Yeah.
And it's on eBay, and there might be some other buying sites around the world which I don't use. Probably you should be able to get it on. So it's readily available, standard and Blu-ray. So yeah, go for it, folks. It's worth a look. It's worth while adding this one to your collection.
And by laughing at it, you probably really put yourself in some stitches.
But anyway, Taika Waititi, you're a clever man. I hope you live long and prosper and make some other good funny movies. And I'm waiting for the sequel.
I'm enjoying the TV show a lot.
Yeah, we watched that. We watched all those, and we're waiting to see get access to the second season. I think there's going to be a third season too. I think.
I think that's in the cards.
Anyway, that's enough from me.
Yeah. So before we cut off, guys.
Yes, Sarah's got something to tell
I have
you.
a brief
really
announcement.
Important.
This Friday, we will be releasing my documentary called The Lockdown, where we interview international filmmakers and actors and get their side of the story about their experience during the COVID. So it will be wonderful if you guys may check it out when you guys can. Okay.
Yeah, pretty much what I did last year. Yeah. Did they work? Did they not work? How they got through writing scripts, not writing scripts? Yeah, it's really interesting. There are a lot of how many people?
18 people.
18 people contributed, and it was all their own film footage. They were invited to participate, but they had to supply their own film footage because they were overseas and different things. So they supplied their own video, and Sarah edited it down to try and make it as interesting as possible. And I think she's done a good job.
Yes, and I hope you guys may check it out when you can.
I'll
be sure to put the trailer underneath in the description box for you.
And as always, Sarah has a Facebook, has an email address. Drop her a line. Tell her if you like it, didn't like it, whatever. It's really good to have a communication game. Hey, we thought it was really, really good. Wow.
Yeah, be part of the communication, guys, because communication is what we all need.
Yeah, and Sarah can grow and develop and say in the next one, if people find there's a problem with this or not, she can learn from it and make the next one twice as good. How's that?
Quite right.
Yes, exactly right.
So that's about it for me tonight.
Yeah, that's enough for me too.
So this is Sarah Stephenson
And Michael?
saying,
Cock-a-doodle-doo.
see you guys around.
It's the sun's coming up. Woo! What?
Bye, guys.
Bye.